So a funny thing happens anytime during my financial planning process that I go through with my clients. We go through what I call the DPT system. I diagnose where they're at, I plan for where they want to be, and then I give them the tools to get there. And we go through this whole process, and usually people are very excited. They can kind of see on paper like where their income's going to come from, how we're going to reduce their taxes, how we're going to take care of a lot of concerns that they have, like passive income and retirement. And then they get kind of quiet and they're ready to go, and you can tell that they want what they see on paper, and they go, well, what's this going to cost me? Some advisors, they don't really like talking about this. I'll tell you quite honestly that at the beginning of my career, it made me uncomfortable charging people for what I do. After 10 years of doing it and seeing the actual returns on paper and the actual material difference that I make for people to the upside, I have no problem with this anymore. I only have only one rule when it comes to my financial planning practice and my clients' money, and that's that they do better with me than without me. So this video is just gonna be on how fees work, how people kind of think they work, and how they actually work, and what kind of value you should be looking for from a financial advisor. And if I haven't met you, my name's Chris Reed. I'm the owner of Capital Partners Wealth Management. I'm a part-time Uber driver for my daughter to get her out to soccer, but I'm a full-time financial planner and I run this company. And so I make these videos because I don't have time to meet with everyone one-on-one. And if I can bring the type of value to people who need investing help by just watching a YouTube video as I bring to my clients, then that's going to help me check the box on feeling good. So to start off with, we have to just make sure when we're talking about paying someone a fee, you have to be working with a fee-only fiduciary who charges a percentage of assets under management. No sales charges or commissions or front-loaded mutual funds or any of that craziness. And you can find another video on my channel about those. The most common thing that I hear is I'm paying about 1%. What I've discovered in looking through the disclosures of hundreds of people's investment portfolios is they're not probably paying 1%. So you can see this is from sec.gov. And the maximum fee here that a lot of these very common big box advisors charge is nowhere really near 1%. Now, it looks like a lot of them have a tiered structure, but a typical 1% fee is kind of uncommon these days. And people charge what they can charge, and they'll charge what people will pay. So the way people typically think of fees is this, and I'm just gonna make a little chart here to help demonstrate this. So what this chart is gonna look like is with me as an advisor, without me as an advisor, and kind of what people can expect to have bottom line in their account at the end of every year. So the first way that people tend to think of this is, oh man, if I give an advisor $1 million and the market goes up 10%, at the end of 1 year with that financial advisors, I'll have $1,100,000 minus $10,000 in fees for $1,090,000. And then they think, well, if I did it myself, I would have $1,100,000. I don't know if that's worth it. So the first guy who brought me into the industry, he said I would never pay a financial advisor. I'm not gonna pay $10,000 to someone to buy the S&P 500 and hold it for me. And setting aside the fact that he actually sat in cash and missed out on a lot of gains and all the numerical stuff, I looked at him and I said, hey, let me ask you a question. If you could just pay $800 a month to not even have to worry about money for an entire year, would that actually be worth it? And he stopped kind of cold in his tracks. It was funny because he was trying to bust my chops a little. And he said, yeah, actually I might. So that's kind of the left brain, right brain look on whether or not you should pay a financial advisor. But this is the most common formulation that people do is number one. Now, Vanguard Institutional did a study and they found that a good financial advisor is worth about 3% net total to your entire bottom line. So under that formulation, if the stock market did 10% and you actually got 13% with a financial advisor, so you got $130,000 worth of interest, you would actually have $130,000 minus $10,000 in fees for $1,120,000. So you can see that right there, that's basically free money, having somebody get paid for taking care of your money, and then they get paid with the stock market's money, essentially. $1,120,000 is $20,000 more than $1,100,000. So even by paying a fee to a financial advisor, you might end up netting an extra $20,000. Way number three is kind of what I call the galaxy brain way of thinking about it, with somebody who does really kind of holistic financial planning and investment management and tax mitigation and estate planning and all that kind of thing. Is I had a client come to me and he was going to retire, and he had a couple $1 million to roll out. So he gave me $1 million and he managed $1 million. And he kept his $1 million in what is essentially a target date fund because he didn't want to pay the fee, and that's totally fine. And I took his $1 million and I broke it up half into a guaranteed no loss account and half into a managed account. And So the market declined. This was right at the beginning of the inflation bubble popping. So the market went down 20%. So on his $1 million, he lost $200,000. So he had $800,000. And the next year, the market came back around 6%. He added it back in somewhere around $42,000. So now he has $842,000. That was at the end of 2 years. Well, in my buckets, his $500,000 in the guaranteed no loss account didn't lose when the market went down. So that stayed $500,000. And then the next year, it actually made around 9%. So he added in $45,000. So that's $545,000 in one bucket. Then in the managed account, we lost about 5%, but then we made about 10 or 11% on the way back. So we lost about $25,000, then we made back around $50,000. So we had about $525,000 in that second bucket. So we had about $1,070,000 in that account. So just from a purely mathematical standpoint, by having me in his life, on half his portfolio, he had $1,070,000. On his managed half of his portfolio, he had about $842,000. That's a difference of around $200,000. So is a financial advisor worth paying a fee? Honestly, at the end of the day, that's something that only consumers can decide. Quite frankly, if you just want a basket full of mutual funds or a target date fund and you just want to sit on it and take withdrawals, you probably shouldn't honestly pay anyone for that. But when it comes to the hard numbers, if you look from a spreadsheeter standpoint, based on what Vanguard found and based on 10 years of experience of doing this, it might be worth it to pay a financial advisor a fee to set up a plan for you, help you manage it, and address a whole bunch of issues and stressors that people tend to have, especially in retirement, that take away from their peace of mind. So if I've said anything that's helped you out, or you have any questions, drop it in the comments below. If you think that this material could be valuable for anybody coming into that retirement danger zone where they need to start thinking about these things, feel free to pass this along. And thanks so much for watching.